as a performer, I'm constantly paranoid on what people think of me. And then I have this internal alarm that starts to beep at me and it says, what people think of you is none of your business. Throwing pills down my throat was one of the biggest things. I hate to use the word regret because I haven't got time to regret the mistakes I've learned from.
Hello and welcome to Spooning with me, Mark Wogan. And each week, my special guests will join me and we will feed them something they say they love and something they think they hate. Food is produced here at the Mount Street restaurant in Mayfair by Executive Chef James Shears. Now, this week's guest is the voice, the talent, and now author, Alfie Boe. Welcome, Alfie.
How you doing, Mark?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm really good, thank you.
Now, you've written a book.
I have, in crayon, yeah.
Well, that bit is. Face the music. Face the music. Now,
Yeah.
I've read this book, and it's really moving in parts.
Thank you.
I mean, you've really been very authentic and honest about who you are and what your life has been like, because it starts off, I mean, you're Alfie Boe, the man who appears to have nailed it in life. You're living in Salt Lake City, you're playing all over the world. I mean, there's a couple of major name drops in there as well, Alfie. I mean, people who can count the Queen and Colin Powell as mates has definitely gone somewhere in life, wouldn't you say?
I'm very fortunate that to have had the opportunity to meet those people. The Queen especially. What a lovely lady, incredible. And Colin was a great friend. It was like when I first met him, it was like we'd known each other for years. It's just as simple as that.
And that came about because you were invited, having played on Broadway, you were invited to sing at the memorial concerts every year, which celebrates the veterans in America. That's
right. It's the equivalent of the Festival of Remembrance that we have here in the UK. It's their version of that, and it's a wonderful event. It's the Memorial Day concert, and it's outside the Capitol in Washington, D.C. And they get some amazing artists, some like Hollywood actors, legends of music. The last time I was there, I was I was doing a tribute to Colin, but the time before that, I was with the Beach Boys. And it was just, guys that I listened to on my headphones cycling up and down Fleetwood Beach in Lancashire as a kid.
So a boy from Fleetwood, which, for those who don't know, is a fishing port.
That's right,
Family of 9.
Yep.
Your parents are very busy people.
They were no television.
and would it be fair to say a strict Irish Catholic mother?
Absolutely.
I've got one of those.
Yeah, very strong, very strict Irish Catholic mother. It was a good childhood though. I loved it. Being the youngest of 9 is very different than being the youngest of a smaller family.
I was in the middle.
You were in the middle. So when the 9th comes along, you're sort of left to your own devices. You're brought up by your older siblings, that sort of thing. My parents were very hands-on as well, but it was sort of like open the back door, go in the garden, come in when your dinner's ready, that sort of thing.
We're talking about this, when I was 9, 10, 11, I'd get on my bike.
Yeah.
I'd disappear for the whole day, and as long as I was back before sundown, there was no problem.
That was it.
There was no mobile phones, and nobody worried.
No, that was it.
And now it's like, if my son, who's now 16, doesn't call within the hour, we're all going, where is he?
You think,
and we're following him on Life 360 on his phone, going, where is he? Oh, he's arrived where he said he's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It does all feel a bit nuts, though.
I just wonder whether, the way the world has gone socially and the apps that you can get, and whether it's taken away an element of independence and an element of self-awareness and that,
a bit of grit.
A bit of grit, yeah, exactly.
We'll get a bit of grit in our teeth every so often. Now, your mother.
Yes.
Good cook, bad cook?
She was good.
It's funny, this question, particularly men, are terrified of answering.
Yeah. So I can see my mum stood there like that. What are you going to say? She's 92 this year.
Wow.
But she was a good cook, but she was I don't know, the beef that I had to eat in stews and things had been cooked for like days. So it was stringy and a little bit tough and dry.
Well,
and
probably, I mean, coming from a cook's point of view, maybe not actually long enough.
No, maybe not.
I mean,
exactly.
And there was a story about she served you off fish.
Oh my goodness, we had this. Sounds funny, but do you know, like the ray knobs? Do you know you can get ray knobs?
Yeah. It's a part of
It's
the
the
fish.
part of the fish. It's not not actually
Not
the actual knob.
No.
But she baked these or fried them or something. But they'd gone off, so they tasted of ammonia. They were off.
Yeah.
So for me, I thought, because I'd never had them before, ammonia has a sort of, how can I describe it, like a really strong, nasty, minty taste to it or something.
Well, it's like sniffing bleach.
Yeah. And it was, oh my goodness, it was disgusting. And I thought that they were supposed to taste like that, and I didn't want to complain until I'd eaten at least 2 of them. Mum, I can't eat any more of this. And she smelt them, and she, no, I don't think you can.
Oh,
she took them
so
away.
she wasn't eating them herself?
No,
nice. So you grew up, family of 9, which is an enormous family. Did you find it, I mean, you ended up with a voice, but did you find it hard to find your voice in the family? I got from the book that you quite enjoyed a bit of solitude, or you definitely removed yourself from a bit of the noise involved in a family that size.
I did in a way. I did spend a lot of time in the garden, a lot of time creating and building adventures and that sort of thing. And so I did find my own entertainment, but when I sort of had the opportunity to tell my stories or show my creations or whatever it was, I really did used to wait until everybody was paying attention to be able to, and I think that's just naturally the performer element within me since I was a kid, but I used to have to make sure that everybody's attention was 100% before I did my silly dance or came out with a silly song or whatever. But yeah, I suppose I found my voice as a singer just by listening to my dad. You know, he used to sing around the house all the time.
And he had a good voice?
He had a really good voice, yeah. He could sing anything in a way. It was sort of like he could impersonate his classic opera singers, and then he could sing a Jim Reeves or a Slim Whitman song or a Lonnie Donegan track or something like that. It was...
The story I love about your dad is the fact that, you know, he, in the book, really good with his hands.
Yeah.
And, you know, if he fixed something, it was never going to break.
Exactly.
And then there's the story about at his funeral.
Oh, my goodness.
So, well, I mean, we shouldn't laugh, but I mean, it is a great story.
It's funny because I wrote it in the song. You know, I said... In the song I've written about my dad, it's literally called Father. One of the lines is, you taught my heart to never break, like the handle you left on the day of your wake. And that's literally what it was. We were lowering my dad into the ground, the undertakers were lowering him into the ground, and the straps that went through the handle literally snapped off the handle, and it came flying out and landed at the feet of me and my mother. And everybody was like, oh, what do we say? What do we say? And it was like, the only thing you could say is, if my dad put that on, that wouldn't have come off. You know?
So you obviously had a great relationship with your parents and your extended family. And you, I mean, people are pretty familiar with the story of how you came to prominence. Yeah. And, you know, as we touched on at the beginning, this extraordinary career that you have and how it developed from, you know, doing Broadway and then all the way through to the stuff that you now do with Michael and the arena tours and everything. And you seem to have the world in the palm of your hand.
Thank you, Will.
And then all of a sudden, it all falls apart. Are you comfortable talking about that? I mean, you have done in the book.
I've written about it, yeah, man. I'm more than comfy talking about it now. It was a difficult time, and it's amazing what life throws at you. Because, you do go, you know, you do get to a point where you're working so hard and you are striving to be the biggest and the most successful thing on earth, and you think, and then life throws a curveball at you where you think, you know, you've got a lot more to learn. And I did. I had a hell of a lot more to learn. And that's, I think, what happened for me is when I went through that dark time, when my marriage broke down and I was out of the family home and drinking a lot and put in rehab and all that sort of business. And It wasn't a posh rehab, by the way. It was a gritty one. It was a one that I needed, and it was a lesson. It was a real lesson, and that I quickly learned on how to carry on with my life, how to get through the mistakes I'd made. You know, throwing pills down my throat was one of the biggest things I, hate to use the word regret, because I haven't got time to regret the mistakes I've learnt from.
No, they're an opportunity to learn.
To turn things around and to be there as a stronger person, not just for yourself, for your kids, for friends that might be going through similar issues. And in my career, I suppose, I'm fortunate enough to have a platform to be able to help a wider range of people.
And I think that's the important thing. I mean, I myself have struggled with alcohol and drugs in the past. I mean, I'm lucky enough that I found a path for me that works, which for me personally is AA. And I do that to this day. And I'm, 30 years later and a lot older,
Right.
I've learnt a bit about myself. But I think it is that thing of, I still am a work in progress. Do you feel like that as well?
I think if you think you're fixed and you're all better now, that's the danger.
Yeah. Don't worry, I've got this.
I've got this. Exactly.
But I mean, it's quite recently that this has happened for you. So it's only in the last couple of years as your life took a major sharp left turn, and you've had to kind of find a way of putting it back onto a track that feels comfortable for you.
Yeah.
What is day to day like for you now? Because you end the book with the chapter now, right? And that's the title of the chapter, which I really like because it is about living in the now.
Yeah.
What is now like?
Now for me is this minute, this moment in time, sat at this table with you, Mark, talking through life, and sat with a mate who, so you've got to really embrace the now. There's no point thinking, right, I've got to go and do this later on this afternoon. I'm meeting up with such and such tonight. Tomorrow I've got another interview. I've got to go and forget it. Forget all that. It might not happen. It's about waking up and living that minute, living that second, and making the most of it.
And is this stuff you've learned through the trials that you've been through, or was it something you always knew?
I think it's something I've had in my mind that I've thought. My mother used to say it all the time. You can't worry about yesterday because it's over with. You can't worry about tomorrow because it might never happen. Just think about today.
I mean, everybody talks about living in the moment, and certainly, part of the AA program is it's a day at a time. And I'm sure, having been through a rehab, you've experienced 12 steps and how those work. Do you use those at all?
They're amazing steps to keep in your pocket, and use. I do. I mean, it's a great program to throw yourself in and invest in. I just think it's easy to say, well, I'm just going to live for now. I'm just going to live for this moment, because life does throw the pressures on. Well, I've got to get this prepared and I've got to get that prepared, and but preparing for something in the future is living in the now. It might not happen, it might not come to fruition or whatever, but at least you've done that preparation, which has taught you something. Yeah. So it's.
I mean, what they talk a lot about in AA is relinquishing control or surrendering.
Yeah.
When you're the one up on stage, and it's ultimately all about you, do you find it very difficult to let go of that control, or is it when you're performing is when you feel you're most free?
When I'm on stage, I like to be top of my game. I like to be on my game and make sure that vocally I'm putting across a good performance. Emotionally, I'm putting across a good performance. But there's one thing about myself as a performer is I've never tried to be anyone other than myself. I've always tried to show the audience the real me.
But as that's changing, I mean, it's obviously you've been through a period of change.
Yeah.
Do you find the performance is changing for you as you're going through that change?
As I'm discovering who I am now, yeah. As you know, and that's just life. I think we all go through changes in life where we have to reevaluate who we are and where our goals are and what we're trying to achieve in life. And yeah, it does. It is an ongoing process. You are constantly learning new things about yourself, and acceptance is a good thing. You know,
And the removal of expectation.
Exactly. Yeah.
But the thing I struggle with is, as you kind of go, well, I'm just going to see what happens. Where's the balance between I'm just going to see what happens and retaining your own agency in your own life?
Yeah.
That's the thing that I always battle with.
That is a tricky thing. I mean, preparation for things is important, you know, and having a view of the future and all that. But I like to, I suppose I see it as more, I suppose I put it in the terms of visualization, you know. I play out a story sometimes in my head on where I could go and where things could go, and then hand it over and let it go, and see if it happens.
But there's a wonderful book, and I don't know if you've read it, called The Untethered Soul, by a man called Michael Singer. And one of the and it's very good for those of us who were raised as Irish Catholics.
Okay, I'm going to write this down. Right?
Well, because you talked about that heavy sense of guilt and sin that's sort of pushed into you from being a kid, and therefore when you talk about living a more spiritual life, the idea of the word God, you're like, not for me. Thank you very much. I did all that as a kid, didn't work. Got me here. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But this is an interesting bit. But one of the, just what you were saying there, one of the things he talks about in the book, one of the chapters is called Learning to Live with Your Roommate. So it's that voice that goes, what are you doing, Alfie? Why are you doing that? What do they actually think of you? That constant sort of dialogue that pretty much everybody's got going on. But if you attached a megaphone to it, I think you'd either be arrested, beaten up, or institutionalized, because that voice is nuts. And if you heard it talking to someone you loved, you'd go, you need to stop talking. How do you cope with that? Because we all have it. And I think if you've suffered from depression or anxiety or any kind of addiction issues, it's quite a loud voice at various points. How do you cope with that on a daily basis?
It's ridiculously loud and ridiculously annoying. It really is. I think as a performer, somebody who wants to be liked, you know, I'm constantly sort of like paranoid on what people think of me. You know, did I say that all right? Did I do this okay? What are they saying when they walk out of the room after a conversation and all that sort of business? And it's like, and then I have this internal alarm that starts to flash and beep at me, and it says, stop. What people think of you is none of your business. And then it automatically I just feel, I've done my best, and I let it all go.
As they say, you can only keep your side of the street clear.
Exactly.
Now, being a man who has perhaps oversought pleasure as an escape from how we're feeling in the past, you said your guilty pleasure was chocolate.
It certainly is.
Now, I have a small challenge for you here.
Okay.
Under this one here is, which way do you go with it? Are you ghetto chocolate or are you posh chocolate?
No, I'm definitely ghetto chocolate. Definitely.
That's what I like to hear. I'm all about dairy milk.
Yes.
My family think it's hilarious at Christmas because I have no off switch.
Right.
You know, having the odd mild addiction issue. You know, I eat like a Labrador, right? So they will give me one of the, you know, those dairy milk kilo bars, and just hand it over and sit there and watch me eat. I can eat the whole thing, pretty much in one sitting. I will feel terrible afterwards, but I have no off switch around that. So, although, you know, I mean, that is a proper box of chocolate. So even if you don't want it, you can give that to somebody else.
That's very kind of you.
That's very nice.
Thank you.
Now, there's the argument that that's not chocolate. People say white chocolate is not what, because we've got, what have we got? Kit Kat, Dairy Milk, Rolo.
I'm going straight for the Rolos.
Oh, you're a Rolo
I'm
man.
a Rolo fan.
Would you give your last Rolo to somebody else? Who would you give your last Rolo to?
I'd go halves with it. I mean,
But who would it be?
well, it'd have to be my girlfriend, but as soon as you're here, Mark, you know.
All right. Well, we'll link hands later and,
All right.
and share a Rolo. So,
won't be
again,
Michael Boe for a start.
no, well, I mean, he's already had a whole packet anyway. I love Michael. I think he's
a good
fantastic.
guy, yeah.
I mean, I love the way that came together as well, because it was a
Yeah.
completely sort of organic thing.
It
And it's
was.
turned into this sort of monster. I mean, you guys are selling out arenas.
Yeah.
You're on album number
Oh my goodness, 5 or something, 5 or
something,
6,
yeah,
something
5 or
like that.
6.
Yeah,
People can't get enough of you two together.
Well, I mean, I think we have to think up another title that's got the word together in it. You know, that's the challenge. That's what keeps us going.
Bonded.
Bonded.
Ball and Bow share
Bonded
their last
together.
Rolo
Together.
together. Keep putting together. So on that theme, obviously there's cake
Yes.
and there's chocolate, and do you find now that sugar is a comfort to you?
It is. And then my head kicks in and say, you've got to be careful how much you're taking, because I am getting older and I'm wanting to be fit at 50. There you go. So,
Well, we are both men of a certain age.
There you
and
go.
me. It's two middle-aged men here sitting here talking
That
about
chocolate.
their chocolate addictions. But I've got a little bit more chocolate for you here, which
my
is
word.
so there's some lovely cake. I mean,
Yes.
you can eat any of these. The whole
Right.
point of the show,
Is it to eat?
Alfie,
Okay.
is to eat.
okay.
So if you were going posh cake, or oh no, I've got this here for you as well. So
I love this podcast. This is great, man.
So here,
Oh.
what I've got is Jamie at the Mount Street restaurant's chocolate mousse as
Right.
well. So
Okay.
you see, it's a difficult one because I love a chocolate mousse, but just a dirty fat chocolate chip cookie, which we've got here as well, would equally satisfy.
Well, we separated at birth, man, I think, because that's exactly what I'd go for.
or the really heavy chocolate cake. I mean, there's so much chocolate crammed into that cake that it's almost illegal.
Yeah, I think thing about a cake like that is that it's beautiful, but like the chocolate, the bitterness sometimes gets me, and then the powder stuff that they put on top.
Yeah. In other words,
It's
the
like
posh
eating
bit.
the posh bit, yeah.
So then you find yourself back at the
Back at
Dairy
the
Milk,
Rolo.
or you're back at the Rolo,
The Kit
or
Kat,
anything like that. But I mean, feel free to
Thank
try
you.
any of those.
I will try the mousse. I
The
think
mousse
that
does
was-
look good,
that
doesn't
does
it?
look good.
Well, look at that. That's light as a feather. It's basically
That's
not
crazy.
It's not really bad for you, is it? Here, I'm going to try some of
There's
those as
nothing
well.
bad about that at all.
Look at that. Oh my God.
That's like, oh man, this is radio silence going on.
That
right
is
now.
spectacular. That is well done, Jamie. That's a phenomenal mousse.
That's so light, isn't it?
No,
That's
I mean,
crazy.
it's heavenly. Right, I'm going to pop that down there. Oh, one last thing
Yes.
on the sugar thing. You can take this with you. I've discovered these recently, and they are game changing as far as I'm concerned. So there's this bakery round the corner here on Duke Street, just next to Selfridges, called Arome. I have no commercial ties to this. I'd just like to say that's their honey toast.
Honey toast.
Honey toast.
Oh my goodness.
Honestly, if you have one of those mornings where you feel like it's not going how it should, that with a coffee.
Oh my goodness, that looks fabulous.
I mean, break
Can I
off
have
a
a bit
little.
now?
Yeah, break
I'll
off a
try
little
a
bit
bit
now,
now.
because I mean, it's like it's an extraordinary sort of textural thing. How good is that?
Can I swear?
Yeah,
Bloody hell.
that's not really swearing.
not really-
That's very polite.
Mild Irish swear.
Exactly. Don't say the bold thing.
That is incredible.
How incredible is that?
That
So,
is
I mean, for the listeners, it's like a sort of light, sweet bread that then has been fried in butter and honey to give it a kind of caramelized, crispy outside.
Oh, to hell being fit at 50, this is amazing.
It's throwing it all away over a honey toast.
This is great. Oh man, that's lovely.
Right. Now, I'm just going to move this stuff
Okay.
slightly out of the way. Here, you take all that chocolate home with you. You can eat that alone at home or
Thank
later in your pants
Did
on
you
your
know
own.
that they've just started making milk chocolate digestives?
Yes.
White chocolate
White
digestives.
chocolate digestives. I'm a hobnob man myself, though.
Yeah, I like my
Chocolate
hobnobs.
hobnob is my go-to, or a golden cream, a Fox's golden cream.
Those are good. Those are
Now,
good.
but the problem is, again, having no off switch, I open a packet of that, I will finish it.
A whole lot.
Are you the same?
Without a doubt.
Now, it's that time, Alfie,
Okay, all right.
for the blindfold.
Okay. Oh dear.
Pop that on, and it is the first of your spoons.
Okay. There's it.
So I'm going to slide that. No, I'll feed it to you.
okay.
Don't worry.
All right,
I'm not. That would be a hell of it. I know you like a challenge. You know, we've seen you throw yourself into the ice. Right.
Oh, this is dangerous.
Oh no, this is good. This is good. He's just going to get a quick shot of that. You got that? Right.
Is this the one I like? Or one
Well,
I'm
this is. I can't tell you that.
Oh,
You've
I
got
see.
you. So I'm going to pop this in your mouth, if you'll excuse the terminology, and you are going to tell me what you're experiencing and what you're tasting. Open wide.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh,
What are the flavours?
that's like a curry or something, isn't it? An Indian. Is it Indian? Is that right?
What are the textures?
Oh my goodness! I mean, that was a very tender. Was it meat? It was a tender meat of lamb.
Take the blindfold off. So that was monkfish curry.
It wasn't.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Damn.
So that's one of Jamie's dishes he's got on the menu here.
Monkfish curry.
Monkfish curry with he calls it a Brick Lane curry sauce.
Wow.
And then it's just finished with a bit of crispy onion on the top.
That, I mean, the texture of that fish was like tender meat. It was.
But you talked about, because we tried to combine the two there. So you talked about the sort of scary thing with fish with your mum,
Yeah,
but then
yeah,
you
yeah.
love chili, Indian spices. That's a kind of go-to flavour.
Absolutely,
for you, isn't it?
yeah. I mean, I love to cook a lot of that stuff at home as well. You know, a lot of curries, and I follow a lot of the recipes some online where you do roast the spices yourself. You know, and
Yeah.
you don't get the jars and all that.
But you are a keen cook.
I love to cook.
I mean, your signature, you say, which might be true for a lot of men, is Sunday lunch.
Yeah. My Yorkshires are good.
Well, I think so. So you like that? You could
I love
easily
that.
you could easily eat the next spoon.
I'm going downstairs and having a go. Oh, I could
Well,
do
you
it,
can have
definitely.
that.
Thank you.
That's for you there. You can have that
Thank
one. Brilliant. Right,
Very
let's get that
tasty.
out of the way. And then we're going to get on. Cleanse your palate, Mr. Boe. We've got the next one coming in.
There we go.
Right. He's very keen. Blindfold's back on. No,
I'm
no
right.
convincing.
I'm ready.
Here we've got the next one. So here we've got your next spoon, sir.
Okay.
Open wide. And it's all about just immediately what hits your palate, what hits your taste receptors. What are you experiencing, texture-wise, flavour-wise?
That tastes like, well, texture-wise, it feels like a gnocchi or something.
Yeah,
Or
you've nailed it. Take that off. So,
That's-
what I loved, one of your food stories was going and cooking with the great Mama Agata.
yeah.
And learning about Italian food.
Yeah.
But what I didn't understand was you said your ingredients that you kind of didn't like were thyme and bay leaf and sage, which we've got. Now, did the sage upset you in that?
No, not at all. No, that tasted incredible. I think it's because it was maybe when I was growing up, thyme and all that, and all those sort of, I hate to say it, boring herbs.
They're not boring.
No,
They're some of the greatest herbs known to...
I know they're the foundation of herbs and stuff, but I mean it's the way that they were probably used when I was a kid. You know,
We're slowly getting round to the fact that you're saying your mum wasn't
Wasn't
a
a
good cook.
can we delete that bit, please? Sorry.
She was a great cook.
She was a lovely cook,
lovely
and
cook.
she knew what
Just
to do with sage like crazy.
So talk to me about that experience, because that sounds fantastic, because that's one of those places.
Yeah.
Tell us about that, because you can go there.
You can. I mean, you can book Mama Agata. She's a wonderful Italian lady. If she deep fries anything in a pan of oil, she'll use her hands to take it out. You know, that's how
Proper
asbestos hands.
nonna.
Absolutely. And she runs this cooking school called The Hidden Treasure, and it's in Ravello. And you think, you turn up and you think you're going to get hands-on with cooking proper Italian food. You turn up at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they're there, and they've got coffee and lemon drizzle cake and pastries, and you start with that. And then you go into her kitchen. You're given an apron with Hidden Treasure, Mama Agata. And you're given an apron, you go into the kitchen, and she cooks.
But it's actually just in her kitchen.
In her kitchen, yeah. And it's overlooking the whole of the Adriatic, and it's gorgeous. And she's takes you through lemon chicken, egg parmesan, how to make a marinara sauce. You don't actually cook anything. You just stand in the kitchen and watch her, and then eat it all afterwards.
It's not really a cookery
It's
school.
not really a cookery school.
They sell it as a cookery school. I've always looked at it online and thought, that'd be nice to go.
Yeah,
it sounds lovely.
It's great.
It sounds absolutely lovely, and sounds much better than throwing yourself into ice, which is something you like to do every day.
I do like to do that. Yes, I do.
Do you like a bit of danger?
I like challenges.
Yeah.
I think there's a big difference with danger and challenges. I like pushing myself as far as I can go and seeing if I'm capable. If I'm not capable of it, and I don't, the word acceptance comes back in. It's like I've had a go.
Because we all saw you do Freeze the Fear, which for the uninitiated looks like a horrific thing to do.
Yeah,
but we're both, as we discussed before we started doing this, we're both like to throw ourselves in ice water on a regular basis.
Exactly.
Why do you do it?
For me, what it does for me, it forces me, and it's not about putting your body through pain, not about putting your body through the actual physical connection with ice water, even though it does stimulate some neurological cells in your head. It just does give you this element of confidence. I don't know how it does it, but Wim Hof knows all the scientific details about it. But for me, it forces me to relax. It puts me in a state where I have to breathe to combat the dramatic temperature change. It makes me slow down.
Or just takes you out of self.
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
Which I'm sensing is somewhere you still struggle to be a bit.
Yeah. I mean, as the years have gone on, the more I've performed, people always say to me, when you finish a show, you must be so on a high, and you must be like partying and wanting to go out, wanting to do this and hang out and staying up till all hours of the morning. The older I've got and the more responsibilities in life that have come across my table, like my children and my relationships and my family, my brothers and sisters, that I've acknowledged are still a huge part of my life. I've always known that my children are a huge part of my life, but I'm able to very quickly disconnect from that performance world, my job in a way, and come straight back to reality with my feet on the ground and ready to have a cup of tea, watch an episode of Dad's Army or whatever it is and go to bed,
I love the idea that you sing to 15,000 people and go home, drink a cup of tea and watch Dad's Army. It's not exactly rock and roll, but I suppose we're all a bit older. We're all a bit older now. Well, listen, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure,
Alfie. It's
Mark.
been really lovely to chat to you, and I hope that your journey of discovery continues on the trajectory that you want.
Likewise, sir.
And
Thank
it's
you.
been really lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Big thanks to Alfie Boe. His book, Face the Music, is out now. That's spooning over for another week, but we'll return before you know it with another guest to find out about the food they love and the food they think they hate. My thanks to Jamie Shears and the team here at Mount Street for the fantastic spoons. I think you enjoyed them, wouldn't you, sir?
Absolutely.
If you like what we're doing here at Spooning, please follow Spooning with Mark Wogan through all your social media channels, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I'll see you next week, you beautiful people.